Welcome to my channel, Tech and Chill. Today, we are diving deep into a new tool from Google that's got people talking. It's called antigravity. And according to those who've gotten their hands on it, this isn't just another coding assistant. No, they're calling it a generational leap in AI development. So let's get into it and see what makes this thing so different and why it might just change how we code forever.
Okay, let's just pause on that for a second. That is some serious praise. Calling something cursor on steroids in the world of AI editors, that's a huge claim. This tells us we're not just looking at a minor update here. The hype is that Google has built something fundamentally more powerful, and, well, that's a pretty high bar to clear.
So what's the secret sauce? What really makes it a game changer? You know, it's not about cramming in more features or buttons. The real revolution here, from what we're hearing, is a total shift in the philosophy of how developers work with an AI. We're moving away from just giving commands and into the realm of actual collaboration. All right, so the heart of anti-gravity is this concept called an asynchronous workflow. Now, that might sound a little technical, but the idea is simple. It's all about moving away from the slow, one-thing-at-a-time way we currently talk to AI coding tools. This is where the whole paradigm starts to shift. You know this dance, right? We've all done it. You type a prompt into your AI assistant, you wait for it to think, then you review the code it spits out. It works, for sure, but it can be a huge bottleneck. It just kills your flow, especially when you've got a bunch of ideas you want to explore at once. And this right here illustrates that change perfectly. On the left, you've got that familiar stop and start process, but on the right, that's the anti-gravity way. It's a fire and forget model. You can give multiple complex tasks to different AI agents and just let them run in the background in parallel while you move on to the next thing. You're not just a coder anymore. You're basically a manager leading a small team of AIs. So how in the world does Google actually make this happen? Well, it's not just one magic trick. It's a whole ecosystem built on 3 core pillars that all work together to make this new, parallel way of coding possible. So here they are, the 3 pillars. First, you have the editor. Think of it as your command center. It looks and feels like a normal IDE, and it's where you delegate all your tasks. Then, those tasks show up in the agent inbox, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can track all your agent's progress just like you check your email. And here's the kicker, the AI browser. The agents get their own browser to actually look at your app, test the changes they're making, and even debug their own code. It's a complete autonomous loop. Okay, so that's all great in theory, but how does it actually hold up in the real world? Let's look at a couple of examples from that early review that really show what these AI agents can do. We'll start with something simple and then crank it up to something really complex. So for the first test, the user gave an AI agent a pretty straightforward task. Hey, make the UI for this file uploader look better. But the key thing here is that while that agent was off working on the design, the developer was totally free to start coding a completely different feature. That's the parallel workflow in action. But this is where it gets really, really cool. The agent didn't just come back with a block of code. It generated what's called an artifact. In this case, a visual mock-up of the new UI design. The developer could then literally draw on the image, add comments like, make this button smaller, and send it back. The agent actually understood that visual feedback and created a new version. That's not just coding, that's a collaborative design session. All right, next up, it was time to really push this thing to its limits. The new task was to add an entire text-to-speech feature to an application, all from a single prompt. Now, this isn't just a small tweak. This kind of thing requires changes to the front end, the back end, the database, the whole shebang. And just look at this list. This is everything the AI agent figured out how to do pretty much on its own. It wrote the back-end logic, it updated the database schema, it set up cloud storage for the audio files, it changed the UI to add a play button, and it even created new background jobs. The developer just had to chime in on a few error messages to get it across the finish line. An entire full-stack feature handled almost completely by the AI. It's just wild. The reviewer's reaction here really says it all, doesn't it? Breaking my brain. This experience went way beyond just fixing a few typos or writing a simple function. Seeing an AI autonomously build a complex, multi-layered feature from scratch, well, it proves that this tool is ready to handle genuinely serious end-to-end development. So what does this all mean? Why does this matter so much? Because a tool like this has real, immediate impacts on how a developer works, how productive they can be, and even the other software they're willing to pay for.
And here's the proof. The impact was so immediate that the reviewer completely canceled his $20 a month subscription to Cursor. And he's already planning to cut way back on his usage of other expensive AI models. In just one weekend, antigravity went from a tool he was testing to his brand new default coding environment. That's a huge vote of confidence.
And this, right here, is the absolute key takeaway. Anti-gravity seems to be reframing the entire role of a software developer. The job becomes less about the nitty-gritty line-by-line coding and way more about high-level thinking, planning, and delegating, basically being a project manager for a team of incredibly fast and efficient AI agents. Which leaves us with this final, really thought-provoking question. If every single developer has their own personal team of AI agents, how do we even measure productivity anymore? It might not be about lines of code written per day. It might be about how well you can manage your AI team to build amazing, complex software. It's a fundamental change in how we think about creating things. If you found this useful, subscribe to Tech and Chill and share this video so your AI agent can spread the knowledge further.